Okay, PB Lifers, welcome back to another episode of This Pickleball Life with me, K-Dubs, and
your girl, Jilly B.
Once again, it's a big week in the Braveralla household. If you can't figure it out, Braverman and Walla, Braveralla, that is us. It's a big week because, as you might notice if you're watching on video, we are not at home. We are gearing up for some big travel plans. And shout out to Kyron Burl for not only winning a golden ticket in a 5-0 mixed tournament last week here in Newport Beach with our other friend Claudia and getting to nationals, but also thank you so much to Kyron for taking care of our sweet, sweet children, Toby the Tabby and those other two cats.
And those other two cats that don't really matter.
Hashtag we only have one cat. So thank you, Kyron. We couldn't do it without you, sincerely and literally. As a reminder, you can still enter to win Mizuno shoes on Jill's Instagram, or depending on how slow we get this pod out, congratulations to our winner. Jill, what can you tell us about these Mizuno shoes?
I'm obsessed with my Mizuno shoes, the Wave AC Court 5, doing a giveaway right now on my Instagram. So I think it's not going to be too late for you to enter to win. I can't say enough good things about how lightweight they are. I could sleep in them. They're so comfortable. I used to play Nikes, and then they discontinued my Nikes, and I thought I was never going to find the perfect tennis and pickleball shoe, but I found it in the Mizuno. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and do so, because we're going to be giving away a pair of Mizunos every single month.
I wonder how many people on YouTube are not following you on Instagram. That's got to be a really small Venn diagram. We need more of you to subscribe on YouTube. Join the JILLYB movement, because in addition, you can win $100 on pbgods.com. As you can see, my lovely sweatshirt, Pickleball is my happy place. You might be able to buy one of those for you, your mother, and your son. But the way you win the $100 on pbgods.com is via the comments on last week's podcast, episode number 14, guessing and predicting accurately what number will JILLYB go in the 2023 Season 2 MLP draft.
Which is in 79 hours, but who's counting?
And if you're listening to the pod, probably about 12 hours. That will be July 12th. So no, we have not slept since San Clemente in anticipation of this draft. Can't wait till it's done. So please subscribe. And one last giveaway.
Absolutely. We're giving away, my newest sponsor is Ruck backpacks. I'm absolutely obsessed with Ruck.
Ruckpacks.com.
Mm-hmm. I actually found Ruck when I was looking for the perfect pickleball bag, and they make a solar backpack, which literally has a panel in it that recharges in the sunlight. And then it's great because when you're at a pickleball, it's so cool. When you're at a pickleball tournament and you're waiting for your court assignment, for me, 9 times out of 10, my phone's dead.
Always dead. Always dead, because I'm always recording video.
It's so funny.
Yes.
And they make this really cool sling backpack that I just showed you. And then we're giving away what they call the Limitless Duffel, this super cool duffel bag. So if you can guess how many pickleballs the Limitless Duffel bag holds, you actually win a duffel bag. And I just found out from the founder of Ruck that if we have multiple people guess the correct number, we will give away multiple bags. And as a hint, it's greater than 1 ball and less than 100. You're welcome for the hint.
Wow. We did actually have a lot of guesses over 100.
I know.
So those people can double back now and guess a second time.
Well, the founder really knows his product, because he wrote me what his guess was, and it was within 2 balls.
Wow.
And I think if we had tried harder, we maybe could have fit 2 balls.
You know what that means.
No, he went home and tried.
He went over and put a bag full of balls. Let's see. Oh, it's so great. So yeah, get the Ruck pack. You won't regret it. You can never have too much power, right?
Totally.
So we will also be revealing just shortly Jill's new Magic Pickleball paddle, as well as talking about the new PPA rules adjustments and the new leadership at MLP, as well as, of course, the upcoming PPA in Denver that we are traveling to. So with that, let's keep it clean on pod number 15.
Was that like kitchen clean? Is that the joke or the rhyme?
It is if you want it to be.
You're tuned in now to for this pickleball life. I'm K-Dubs and Jilly B is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pile, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Themesong done, let's go, let's get laughing. This pickleball life.
Okay, Jill, you have doubled down and found your favorite shoes and now are collaborating with Mizuno. We have the Ruck Pack, the bag of your dreams, and the Make It Rain Rainstorm to keep you energized all day long. Your Proband keeping you swinging healthy all day on the court, all day off the court. And when you're fully recovering, Bemer is keeping the blood flow flowing. So, give the people what they really, really, really want to know. What is the magic behind the paddle?
The magic paddle. All right, I have been on a mission for the past 4 months to find the best paddle in the game.
The T-boy of all T-boys.
The best one yet. And I have been so lucky to try over 50 of the best brands in pickleball. And I was looking for something that could hit harder than any other paddle, that would play the same, right? Week in and week out, not degrade after 4 weeks or 5 weeks, looking for something that played the same as other paddles in its, right, in its model. Like I didn't want one paddle that I had to feel one way and then the exact same model feel another. We hear about that all the time in pickleball. So I wanted all of the paddles to be as consistent as possible. I wanted it to be at a price point that wasn't egregious, that like my fans, family, like
You are getting what you paid for.
right, like bang for your buck, something everyone could afford. And also a paddle for everyone. So a brand that had thermoformed paddles, that had raw carbon fiber paddles, composite paddles, graphite paddles, truly a paddle for everyone at a price point.
Starter paddles, advanced paddles. They've got a lot of great options and a lot of great designs. So give it to us.
Okay, so when I first found this paddle, I did not think I could love another paddle as much. But then the company came out with the Move-In. And this is the GRUVN Move-In 16 millimeter paddle. It is on pre-order right now. It ships this Saturday, July 15th. This is a small company in Vancouver that has been in hush mode, quietly building what I think are the best paddles in the game at the best bang for your buck. So look, I hit this thing so hard that it took me a solid week till I could like keep it in the court. And then obviously played MLP San Clemente, won the championship, won MVP. That was all with this paddle. And I'm so excited that it is now available to you again.
Starting July 15th.
Starting this Saturday, July 15th.
And that is a Canadian company. So it's gruvn.co, not
Thank you.
com.
Thank you.
Check the link below and the discount code below, as usual, JILLYB.
Yep, discount code JILLYB.
And I think it's $179 to start with. So after your JILLYB code, that brings it down to like close to $150
for a thermoformed
amazing.
high-end paddle.
Yeah, it's
Like,
funny
that's
'cause
crazy.
we were kind of laughing the other day about like, could there ever be one paddle for every person? And I equate this kind of to golf balls, where like the best golf balls, the premium balls in any brand, they're going to be the best for everyone.
Yeah.
The rest is just a matter of what do you want to sacrifice. So do you want to sacrifice for price the power? Do you want to sacrifice feel? Do you want to sacrifice spin? But this paddle is just, it just clicks every box.
100%. And I've tried Vatic, I've tried Carbon, I've tried every Selkirk paddle, I've tried Legacy. Those are all amazing paddles. But I have not found a paddle that hits this hard, that has this much controller feel, that feels this consistent and is consistent through each paddle that I get. Like when I played MLP, my partners were like, yeah, this company just sent me five paddles of the same model. All 5 play differently. And that has been my experience with paddles.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, mass producing anything is not an easy game to play. So congrats and kudos to
GRUVN. Kudos to
GRUVN
them.
for pulling it off. So yeah, why do you think we don't see more pros playing GRUVN, or are we about to?
No, that's a really good question. So, when I was speaking to the owner, he mentioned that at one point JW had tried the raw paddle, really, really liked it.
Really?
A lot of these pros in South Florida had tried it, really, really liked it. Jeannie Urakina actually plays the raw 16H. What I love actually about these paddles so much is the handle.
Yeah.
The handle can fit a two-handed backhand with no sacrifice to the way that the head is shaped and the size of the head, but I can definitely get that second hand on really comfortably. So Jeannie Urakina, another two-handed player, plays it, just made to the finals of the APP Newport Beach, and she is such a good up-and-coming player. So there are GRUVN players. I believe Ariel Butler plays it. And I think after this thermoformed paddle secret, the move-in is unleashed, we're going to see a lot more players playing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And any up-and-coming pros that aren't signed yet, you can get your hands on one of these.
It's true.
They're life-changing,
it's
as
true.
Jilly likes to say. So,
and I'm really excited, if I didn't say this already, for the 13 move-in in hot pink.
That
will be coming out.
The Jilly B Signature line.
JILLYB Signature
There's
Paddle.
only going to be a limited number of them, so stay tuned for those to drop, because you're definitely going to want to rep your Jilly B on the court with not only your hat, but also your paddle. So, really, really excited for that. I've got a question for all of you out there. What do Maul's pickleball injury and Paris Todd returning to MLP all have in common?
Did we predict all those things?
They are a Jilly B prediction from the Oracle.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please.
Your Highness.
Please address me by Madame Oracle. No, that is so funny. We did do a pod on, where the future of pickleball would be played. We said malls, and then a week later it was like this
everywhere.
This
like,
CNBC,
malls,
Forbes, all these
here.
articles on malls. Then we did our most shared ever podcast clip on pickleball injuries.
I'm proud of that
with over
clip.
100,000 views. And then the very next week, there's the Forbes article on pickleball is costing the American healthcare system and Americans $400 million a year, and seniors are being hit the hardest.
It's funny because when I think about 300 million people and like everyone I know plays pickleball, 400 million sounds like not that much money. I'm surprised it's not more. In fairness, I am going under the knife to make our contribution to the cause, but I did not get originally injured
from
playing pickleball. So I think we get an asterisk next to that surgery.
Fair.
But be thinking good thoughts for my ACL. In the
July
coming
24th.
weeks. Yes. Jill asked me the other day if I am having a hard time not playing pickleball. And I think it's one of those things that like the less I play, the easier it is to not play.
Yeah.
And over the next year, I'm just going to be able to dedicate myself 100% to watching pro pickleball.
You're going to get good.
I'm going to come out swinging. I'm going to be the best pickleball player I've ever been because I won't have hit a bad dink for a year. I won't have hit it in the net for a year.
Yeah.
I won't have seen any 3-5s spaz around the court for a year. I'll just see the best of the best doing what they do.
Sometimes when I'm injured, I play in my head. Or like if I'm taking some time off to nurse an injury, and that might sound really weird, but I met this girl who actually taught me about this on a modeling shoot in college. It was for Golfsmith in Portland, and she said she had a really awful form of cancer that she was like 30 years old at the time. She had cancer, and for 1 year was bedridden, going through chemotherapy, and she was a golfer. She was a pro. Mm-hmm. And she said for that year, she played every day 18 holes in her head. And that really stuck with me. And she said when she got out of her cancer, got out of chemo and started playing, and she didn't feel like she had missed much, and that she had been practicing shots, practicing moments. Like the imagination's a very powerful thing. So
Amazing.
I want you to play in your head.
No, that is super true. I've heard so many stories that are similar to that. And, we could have a whole podcast on this. But I do think that every good mental coach has a huge portion of visualization and imagination and replay. Like when I was on the ski team, it was like, okay, picture every turn. And when I was doing freestyle, it was like, okay, pretend you're doing the tricks, and you'll see people at the top of the run, doing kind of like the airport, the signals for their spins and flips. And my cousin who was in wakeboarding and and water skiing, he would come off the lake, go back into his living room and sit on the wakeboard and like mime the tricks and then go back on the boat. So if you're out there and you feel like you're in a slump playing pickleball, take 2 weeks off.
It's true. I'm a huge believer in time off. I'm also a big believer in like watch moments where you played well. If you ever video yourself or you have any clips where you're like, oh wow, I hit that overhead really well, or I like the way I constructed this point. Like watch that before you go to bed at night. Like that might sound weird, but like watch the good stuff. And I did that last night, woke up this morning and was like really remembering how well I played in this certain match and these 4 points and how I felt everything was really in front of me and my elbows were tucked in. And then I went out today and felt like I was emulating that, but I watched it last night.
Absolutely. And I would be remiss if not to take this moment to also tell our viewers that I am a golf pro, if you hadn't caught that. And I'm about to launch a whole new series of videos that I'm super, super excited about, called Why You Suck, but you don't have to. Because golf is such a difficult sport for people, and they do often suck because we all suck. I suck too. So if you are a golfer or you're thinking about taking up golf, you should also be following my channel on YouTube, Walla Golf.
Yep. Soon to be Yes Golf.
Soon to be Yes Golf.
Why You Suck. Turn those yeses into yeses. Hey, we might have to do the same thing for pickleball. Yes, pickleball. Why You Suck at pickleball.
I think so. It's a natural.
Except everyone's so darn good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Except you start and you're immediately great and it's fun. Weird. So you've predicted all this great stuff. What are your next predictions?
Well, I think on the last pod we talked about, I think paddle technology for pros is going to cease either now or very soon. I don't think we're going to see many more advancements. This is our aluminum bat era.
Aluminum bat moment.
I think one prediction I have is maybe 2 years away, but like, are we in some type of bubble with pickleball? You know, with the recent news of MLP nominating a new CEO and COO, they talked about in this Forbes article how the valuations of teams have gone from $100,000 to north of $10 million in 2.5 years. I mean, look, it's a private company. The value of the business is whatever essentially people are willing to pay for teams. As silly as that may sound to the logical parts of our brain, if there's people willing to pay that, that is the value of those teams.
You know what it is?
Go ahead.
If you think about what was wrong with the Elizabeth Holmes Theranos thing, we always said, like, God, if you know, Elizabeth Holmes had just gotten behind something that wasn't just made up in her head with no science to back it, she would have been a huge success. She was really good at what she was good at, convincing people to give her money. And here we are. We have the magic one drop is all it takes. One drop of pickleball. Cures all.
I know. And MLP has
and
done
it's not too good to be true.
It's true. It's true. And MLP has done a fantastic job of providing a vehicle to intelligent business people, celebrities, other sports team owners. They've provided this vehicle of investment into the game of pickleball via the purchase of a team. So when you purchase a team, it's a single entity league. MLP is a single entity league.
It's not like the Yankees.
Right.
You got a whole piece of the main pie.
It's like MLS. So you're actually, you're purchasing a percentage of the league itself. And, you know, kudos to them because again, I think it's brilliant to provide an outlet and a vehicle for all these really interested people in pickleball, a way to invest in pickleball. And that's what they've done. But is it a bubble? I mean, I don't know. For my sake, I hope not. We have equity in MLP. I was really early on at Duper and MLP, so I'm thrilled with the valuations of the business and the teams. But
well,
can it go like much higher?
We'll see. I mean, there's 7 billion people on the planet, and it's growing in India and it's growing in China. And, you know, unlike tennis where like you kind of have to be tall to really be a world beater, you can be short, you can be mid-height, you can be a lot of different things physically that I think bring in a lot of different countries with different physicalities that are sometimes left in the dark.
I mean, I guess that would be my other 2 year down the road prediction is I don't think Americans will be the best, pickleball players in the world. This guy, Kwang Dong, just made it to the finals of the APP in singles. I think he's like 17 or 18. Is that correct?
Some kind of teenager.
So he's a teenager. He's trying to be a pro tennis player. He plays ITF events and he basically, his Instagram is probably one of the funniest things you'll ever see. And he talks a lot about like, hey, I play tennis competitively. I don't even really play pickleball, and I made it to the finals of this tournament. Like, if I can do it, a bunch of other people can. And by the way, I think this is way more like ping pong and badminton than it is tennis. So y'all better be really scared when the badminton players come in and the ping pong players come in and China wakes up to this. So it's, I guess that would be my other like not so clairvoyant prediction. I think we can all see the writing on that wall. This might be the golden era of paddles, and this might be the golden era of American pickleball.
Yeah, well, it's interesting with all the sports that England invented and then spread throughout their dominion, and then those other countries ended up becoming better at them than all of them.
Right. No.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. So we are off to Denver for PPA Denver, but before we talk about the event itself, let's talk about the new rules. They just came out with a mid-season rules adjustment, and I think I like all of them.
Right, I agree.
We're gonna hit the three of them, which their link broke, but I will find the original article that this link was too. But the main point was serving lets. We're now going to allow bounce off the net into the box.
Right.
Play it, of course, bounce off the net into the kitchen, still out. Scoring discrepancies. They're kind of tightening up the rules, and the back draws totally revamped and kind of undone. So talk about serving first.
Sure. So for amateurs, this is what you already do. If there's a let serve, you play it. So for the pros, it used to be that you play it. Then they changed it that you don't. You replay it. And now we're back to playing let serves. And I think the reason behind just let it play is it's not like tennis, where usually if you have a let in tennis and it dribbles over and it's an ace, right? It's unreturnable. I don't think you really see that, where if you have a let serve, it's like such an unfair advantage to the server. It's kind of like a nothing event. And it's not exactly like if you have a let serve and it pops up and it's this like very easy ball to return. Wow, the returning team's going to slam a winner. You know, it's not like that either. It's kind of just this non-event in my mind. So do I think this is a good rule in the sense that it just like speeds up play and harmonizes the rule with the amateur game? Yeah, great. Speeds up play, harmonizes with the amateur game. Great.
The real question to me is like, how often does hitting the net benefit the server? Basically never.
It's just a non-event. Yeah, I don't think there's like there's no benefit to the server. If anything, it's a little bit of a detriment if you were going to serve this huge bomb.
And then it gives you that float.
Yeah.
The other thing is serve like spin issues or belly button issues. They're changing the way that the referee calls that. And they're basically just going to have kind of unlimited reserves.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting like incentive to the person pushing the rules, right?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. Daniel De La Rosa, who was on my team for MLP San Clemente and Daytona, had his serve challenged in San Clemente, and it was legal. But at the same time, it's like, can you pull his shirt up and look at his belly button? Like, everyone's belly button is in a different place. So I think the whole serving rules, the way it's written is really tough to enforce.
Yeah.
Very tough.
I think that if you really get into any rules, and this is super true in golf, as I hope it is in pickleball, it's really like the intent behind it and who are you protecting that matters, right? Some rules sound kind of egregious until you're like, well, if we didn't have that rule, what would happen? So something good to keep in mind. And they're really kind of trying to simplify the whole, like, who's on what side if you're out of position. Basically, they're putting it all on the ref to just make sure everyone is in the right position instead of putting it on the players to say, are we good? Are we good? Are you serving? Correct server?
So this rule is a referee, if they detect someone is a team is in the incorrect position, they'll just say it. They're not waiting for you to make mistakes.
Or call it.
Yeah, and I think that's, I always say I'm a professional player, not a professional scorekeeper.
And I do think if you look at it from a new viewer to the sport standpoint, it's like, okay, you tune in for pickleball for the first time and you see someone going, am I good every single point?
Yeah, it's jarring.
So I'm glad they're doing that.
They could make it even simpler by going to rally scoring.
Yeah. We did have a video we released this week on the complications of regular scoring, of side out scoring as it's called.
It was partially inspired actually by a YouTube comment when we were talking about rally scoring on our last podcast and the benefits of it being fast, friendly, easy to learn, the future. Someone said, oh, your take was one of the most idiotic takes I've ever heard, that the scoring in pickleball is an inhibitor to someone becoming more invested in the sport, playing in a league, playing tournaments. Yeah. And so they said my take was so idiotic that we decided to make a video called The Simple Rules of Pickleball.
Do you want to go through them all? Or is that too much?
No, absolutely. Let's go through them. Kristin, you want to take the first or you want me to?
So if you haven't seen this already, Jill starts out the video by saying, all you need to remember in pickleball is to serve underhand from behind the baseline diagonally and let the ball bounce when it comes back. And then just have fun.
Yeah.
And the serving team has both players behind the baseline, but receiving team has one player at the net who will not return the serve. Each team gets one chance for each player to serve, except on the very first time when only one server gets to serve, in which case they are actually a 2, even though they're the first ones to serve. And you can't go in the kitchen unless you don't hit the ball in the air, hence the name No Volley Zone. And in side-out scoring, you can only score a point when you're serving. Otherwise, you just get the ball back, or it's their second serve, and it happens with the first server. So if your team wins a point and switch sides, your partner goes laterally, and in the case of the receiving team, they move vertically, and by moving up and down in the court. And while your court position is determined by your original serving position, on the serve and the return, you're free to move about the cabin, so players sometimes stack, after which, on the return, they move to their side, or unwind if are on the return. So, it can become important when you're playing with a lefty, or at higher level pickleball, or just play rally scoring.
But it's so simple. Side out's so simple. You just heard how simple it is.
If you have not introduced a person to pickleball, like, you're just ignorant to the fact that it is complex. And you're like, kind of worry about it, but don't worry about it.
In the
only
comments,
thing that matters is you kind of know how to keep score, but everyone's wrong all the time, so it's okay.
In the YouTube comments, we also had a comment that I thought was very enlightening. An individual wrote, rally scoring has to be the future because when I go to my public courts where there's already a long wait, it takes forever for beginner players to finish a game to 11. Why? Because it's side-out scoring. And everyone struggles to get to the net and win points on your serve. And that was mind-blowing to me because they're totally right. Here I am thinking like, pro pickleball. I try not to, right? But
business side.
But here's millions of people waiting for a court at their public parks. And they're going to be waiting for a while watching 4 3-0 players who literally cannot win a point on their serve. It's going to be like a 30, 40-minute game.
Totally.
And it should be a 10 to 15-minute rally scoring game for the sake of everyone who's going and playing at public courts, which is 90% of players.
Totally. When we were in New York, and by we I mean me, I waited like 45 minutes to get the full New York City experience at the Central Park courts. And when we finally got on court, we were like, all right, every time it gets to like 9, just pretend it's still 9 for like 5 more points. Because we waited so long to get on court. We were like, let's just pretend we aren't winning.
And you can do that with side-out scoring.
It was also like 11-2. So we were like, let's just pretend it's 9-3, 9-4. And really, it was like...
Well, you say it best. The score is really 0-0-10.
Totally. I can't tell you how few times I have ever gone to the courts without uttering this phrase at least once. And that is, it's 0-0 for the 6th time.
Yeah.
And I'll say, gotta love side out scoring.
0-0 for the 6th.
0-0-6,
for the 10th.
0-0-7, 0-0-8. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't nuances about side out scoring that I do appreciate in some of the incentive of what changes being on the receiving end and the serving end because you have an advantage in pickleball on the receiving end. But it just honestly makes it even more significant, I think, of the benefits to receiving because you know if you're winning more points, you're still serving more. And I just, I play with too many lefties that can't handle stacking. So I'm a huge fan of staying on sides.
Yeah.
So that's my rant. But hope we all can, have an open mind at least and move forward for the
Well, actually, if you haven't tried it, go try it. I also find that it is kind of an equalizer. So if I'm playing with my mom or my sister or people who are lower level, it does make the game tighter. I think that's fun. It doesn't mean that I still think the team that should win usually will win.
I think stats have basically
and the stats have proven that. But in the meantime,
games, but still the better team usually.
In the meantime, it makes for a more fun close game.
Yeah, and honestly, even in MLP, when people say like anything can happen, part of that anything can happen is the teams are so close to begin with.
Right.
Instead of just like taking the 2 best players in any category and pairing them off, you have this mix. That's also why anything can happen in MLP. It's not the rally scoring only. So I think people forget that. So anyway,
speaking of things that are misunderstood, we are going to be talking about what we think are the 5 biggest myths in pickleball. So number 1 is get to the kitchen line as quickly as you can.
Yeah, how many people are told that as they learn pickleball? Like, get to the line, get to the line, get to the line. There's one time when that's true.
And it's when you return
and
serve.
Burn.
Mm-hmm. Return
but
and
when
burn.
you're on the serving side.
Yeah, it could take you 5 tries, right? You might have to wait 5 balls. You could get up to the kitchen line and then have to come
retreat
all the way back, get up again, go back again. If you watch any pro match, you will see up, back, up, back,
those
up,
are my
back.
favorite points.
Yeah, and those are the most fun points, right? These defensive, crazy points.
Yeah, and those go either way. Sometimes you fight so hard, you do these miraculous things, and then you have like finally a calm third, and it just goes into the net.
So just be patient. I'm a huge fan of a drill with 2 people back and 2 people at the net. The 2 people at the net serve, and you play to 5. And you'd be amazed at how often the people back, if they stay back and wait for the right ball to come in, actually win. They shouldn't. They don't have the natural advantage. But it's infuriating to the people at the net who have to sit there and hit ball after ball that are being returned, right? The ball's being returned nice and calmly, and then they'll go and they'll overhit. They'll try and hit a winner because they're so frustrated. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of power in 2 people in the backcourt staying together, or 2 people coming in slowly together, calmly together, waiting for the right ball together.
Right.
Don't just kamikaze.
Especially when those 2 players at the baseline, like when I play with Emily, we know that's what we're doing.
So you're
I think
staying
sometimes
together.
You play with that person and you're like, hey, let's stay back or watch it. And they're not sure, like, are we doing a shake and bake or are we doing this or that? But it's like, no, this is the game plan. We wait for the right ball. We could stay here all day and frustrate our opponent. Because the other thing is, if you think about it like a numbers game, that team at the net, they should win 5 out of 5 times. So if you win 2 out of 5 times, you're still beating the odds.
It's impressive. Yeah, you are.
You don't have to necessarily win all 5, but you'd be surprised how often you will. Because that leads to one of our other myths, which I'm going to skip ahead because it's such a good segue. Hit it high, you die.
It's
something
true. Yeah.
I used to hear all the time on the court.
And by it's true, I mean, it's true that it's a myth.
It's true that it's not true.
I can't tell you how many students I teach that are like, I want to hit my dinks lower. And I said the same thing I say every time. I've never seen anyone who hits their dinks too high.
Or I need to hit my dinks lower. Like they know for a fact that they're blaming that for why they're losing. And almost never the case.
No, it really is never the case. So one example of this is they did a study at Harvard University where they found that 99.9% of balls that go into the net actually don't go over the net. Point just ends when you hit it in the net, apparently. Yeah. According to the study.
Hit it high, you die. Hit it low, you dead.
You dead. Hit it high, you might die. Hit it low, you dead.
Yeah. So I think that also gets to something you preach a lot on the court. And for example, this morning with your sister, who is finally taking pickleball a little bit seriously, but when to really hit it high, when to lob. Most of the good lobs
are offensive.
Or when. Yeah.
Offensive
when both you and your partner, if not all four of you, are at the net.
It's true. I've been working on the lob.
Flailing midcourt lobs. No.
But with hit it high, with hit it high, hit it higher. The other thing with, I'm scared I'm going to hit it high and get, smashed at. The point is never over. And I see a lot of players who hit one dink a little bit high and they turn their backs or they sigh or they groan in frustration or they put their paddle down at their side. You would be amazed. I mean, it's a wiffle ball, right? There's air moving through it. Yes, paddle technology is advancing, and yes, the ball is getting hit harder.
And yes, some paddles do have air moving through.
Open neck. But try really hard to make sure that you are not that person who is giving up on a point. If the ball's alive, you're alive.
Remember, it's just a wiffle ball. I always come back to The Sandlot, too. If you haven't watched The Sandlot, immediately stop watching our podcast and watch The Sandlot.
I agree with that.
Because who are you? You must be a Gen Zer because that's the only valid explanation. But the scene in which the like stud kid tells the new kid on the block to just hold his glove out and I will hit the ball into your glove. Like the blind squirrel finding an acorn. If you just put your paddle in front of your eyeballs in front of your face where you protect the only thing that really matters, you might as well, at half the time, the ball is going to hit your paddle.
I literally had a put away today and I hit Brian's paddle. He just was like, he had it like right here.
Just happened to be.
Literally. But he had his back turned, had he turned sideways.
Had he given up and groaned.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. So never give up. Just put that paddle up.
The next myth.
Put that on a shirt.
The next myth is interesting because it actually reminds me in these discussions about MLP and who's going to be drafted and who's not, that there's a contingent of pro players in the premier level who are just simply not advancing. Like they are not evolving with the game. Yeah, right. They're kind of like this. And they've been playing the game the same way they've been playing the game for 5 years.
Yeah.
So this myth, take every ball in the air. I see a lot of pro players still playing this way. It's how the game used to be taught, and it's a total myth. I want you to keep the ball in front of you. I want you to keep your paddle in front of you as much as possible. I do want you to reach in, but while you're reaching, you can also assess pretty much till the last second, do I want to take it in the air, or do I want to let it bounce, take a step back, but keep the paddle in front of me? And we're seeing the game now with the paddles so fast being played more and more and more 2, 3, 4, 5 steps off the kitchen line, especially in women's doubles, especially in mixed with the women almost playing a little bit of eye with the guy so far in front and the women in the back. You just buy yourself so much more time. So I don't like this notion of take every single ball in the air. I do like the notion of reach in as much as you can. Keep that paddle in front of you as much as you can.
Yeah. I think that the real rule, if I'm interpreting all of your instruction inside of 2 seconds, is that you never want to let a ball bounce behind your feet and then hit it. Right? So if you're going to let it bounce, you have to move your body back so that the ball is still in front of you.
Yep.
Right? But that's really the rule they're trying to explain there, is don't let it bounce behind your heel and then try and flip it. That's not a viable strategy, but absolutely letting things bounce can make for easier, more predictable, more balanced shots, and sometimes opens up even more options, not to mention keeping your opponents sometimes guessing, right? A lot of times if they see you reach in, they know it's going to be a speed up,
right?
Or they're prepared for that anyway, whereas if you can back up every time and you're like, maybe I'm doing this, maybe I'm doing that.
Correct. Boop. I think our next myth is a really interesting one. You're either a left side player or a right side player.
And that the left side player is always the better player.
Correct. I think that is completely going away. I think we're going to see a new era, and we're seeing it right now, of players who are equally gifted on left and right sides. You have to be. I think the game is evolving as such that there's so much flying around the court. You kind of end up in different positions, right? Like, I don't think you can afford to be just a dedicated one side player. Like, I've played so much on the left just because I have lefty partners a lot. But for me, like, playing the right's easier. I'm so long. I just reach in, take most of the balls in the air. It's easier to attack one-handed with your forehand. I think you have to be moving forward in amateur or pro pickleball, like, be comfortable on both sides. And this notion that, oh, the left side's the stronger player and the better and forehand in the middle. You know, I think we see Anna Lee Waters and other female pros. Anna Bright's a good example. Catherine too, comfortable playing the right with their strong backhands in the middle of the middle of the court. Like, everything is a strength.
Yeah. I think if I interpret your advice and others throughout the years, I think that the biggest thing about the positioning of the players is knowing who's taking what ball. And for simplicity's sake, if you just always have the forehand in the middle on the left be that person who takes the middle balls, that does clear up a lot of that. But you could absolutely have different strategies with different partners.
When I'm on the right, for instance, that middle ball comes, or that ball comes towards my left foot, that's my best shot. That's my backhand. Like, I can put that shot anywhere. I can flip that shot right in front of me and surprise someone. So again, I think it's going to be evolving and developing patterns with your partner based on your guys' skill versus, oh, I'm right side or I'm left side or I'm this or I'm that.
Not to mention the other thing I think you are a big proponent of, more than even some pros.
Matchups.
Who are you in front of?
100%.
Whose ball are you getting, and who are you picking on?
That's actually more key than anything. I can't believe I didn't mention that.
That's what I'm here for.
Do you want to be on the right or left right now? Because of the matchup, does this person not want to be in front of you? Like, when I first started playing pickleball, I was like, oh, put the girl in front of me wherever that is. Like, I'm not going to lose a hands battle when I first started playing pro pickleball. And so, like, Zane and I used to play a lot with him on the right and me on the left because I was just more comfortable wherever the female was, attacking her and being right in front of her. It was way less about, oh, I want to be on the left or I want to hit backhands. It was like, that's where I think we're going to win the most points.
Yeah. And then in reverse, you're always like, are we the aggressor controlling the point?
Right.
Or are we defending them well? All of that strategy comes into play.
Yep.
Which is another interesting thing with rally scoring, that you don't switch every point. You either have to take a timeout to do so, or you get that free timeout at 11 where you could switch sides. Or you could actually stack anyway.
I've been watching some Premier San Clemente pickleball because we didn't get an opportunity to watch that much of it when I was playing Challenger. So I was watching Simone and Eric Lang playing a match last night, and Simone and Eric switched halfway through the match. It wasn't going well. She played left, he played right. They did end up losing that match. But again, I think this ability to change based on matchups is going to be really important in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those are some myths. What do you think are the biggest myths in pickleball?
Yep.
And what do you think of our explanation of those myths? Give us your worst. Give us your best. But yeah, I think that sentiment of the best part about pickleball, the wiffle ball, the fact that you can get everything, is so much of the magic. So
totally. And the sport's still evolving.
Why would you give up? There's no benefit to that. So with that segue, we have been talking a lot about the draft. As you know, I gave my own 2 cents on draft strategy and predictions. But after that, we got the list of who signed up for the draft. And as I teased earlier, you were right in predicting Paris Todd has made her comeback to the MLP family, which makes sense.
Which makes sense. And, you know, a lot of people, what they misunderstand is I actually didn't apply for season 1 until the middle of this season. That's why I played Challenger. I wasn't even draftable for Premier. So I wonder if Paris...
Nor were you draftable last year at all.
Correct.
In 2022.
But my point is, I wonder, I did predict that Paris would be back at the end of season 1, not in the middle, because I didn't see her as someone who would enter and play Challenger.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm glad you did. I'm
I
really
am
glad
too.
you played Challenger. I mean,
It was fun. It was great.
I think two things. One, obviously, it basically worked out. We had a lot of fun. You had a great team, and you won. The second one and got second in the first. You were in the finals twice. And it kind of proved NML right, who were like, this is unfair. How can Jill Braverman just be thrown in the middle because, she's such a premier player. So I'm sure they were both loving it and hating it. I don't know. But the other thing, I think, besides the fact that, you just got used to, rally scoring and the team format and the sort of strategizing, but also that the challenger level is still legit.
Of course it is.
Like, there are really good players who aren't even on a challenger team.
I know.
So I think a lot of people kind of approaching pro pickleball for the first time are like, oh, Corn Ferry Tour or whatever. Well, guess what? Corn Ferry Tour players can still shoot 22 under par, just like challenger players can still be really good. If
you guys want to see one of the most enjoyable, insane pickleball matches you've ever seen, check out Chicago Slice versus Dallas. Find the men's match.
Every point was a highlight.
2 forehands in the middle, or 4 forehands in the middle, both teams.
One lefty, one righty.
And then listen to Ben Newell's explanation of the match after Cameron Blackwood says, like, at the end of the match.
What were you guys strategizing?
Yeah,
we're not going to tell you. You have to go watch.
But it was Daniel De La Rosa, Ben Newell, Ryler DeHart, and Connor Garnett, and every single point is a highlight.
Absolutely.
It was the most enjoyable match I've watched. Not just saying that because I was on the sidelines watching it in person, and it was my team, but I've watched now every challenger match, every premier match, and there was nothing like this.
Yeah. No, it was what unfortunately the high level men's doubles doesn't have. It's like some of those men's doubles matches are just dink after cross-court dink.
Well, Steve Kuhn wants to implement a shot clock.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, no,
Let me see that Daniel De La Rosa slam.
So Steve Kuhn, from the founder of MLP D, wants to implement a shot clock for pickleball. So I don't know what the time is on it, but basically you have to attack after a certain amount of time has elapsed because we don't need any more 120 ball dink rallies.
Yeah, totally. I think the tough thing with that is like who's punished and how.
So the onus would be on the receiver, correct?
Who's the receiver? Just like whoever received the whoever
received the serve. Wouldn't the onus be on the receiver?
For the whole point.
Because they had the natural
responsible
because they had the natural advantage, right? They came in.
Yeah.
It's their advantage. The servers had to work their way in. So wouldn't you put the onus on?
Does a lob count as a non-dink? Like, okay, well, we changed something up.
I would think the lob would count as a non-dink.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope to see it because like I just want to see how that works and how it plays out. But like I said, Paris is in, and of course, Jill is eligible for both. Anyone else enter out of nowhere? I don't think there were any like big names to note. But who's not in the draft?
Jack Sock.
Come on, Jack. What are you waiting for? But who dropped out?
Lucy Kovalova is out. Lindsay
God, that's
Newman.
The first time you've ever said her last name correctly.
I like to say Kovalova. She doesn't know it's actually the correct pronunciation of her name.
Kind of like J. Devilier.
Okay, that's an inside joke for another time.
So sorry. So yeah, Lucy's out, which obviously means also Matt is out. Perhaps not so obvious, but yeah, Matt and Lucy have left the building.
Okay.
And
not huge surprise there.
One other person.
Lindsay Newman.
Mm-hmm. Not in the draft. So that right there, you know, you got to figure Lucy Paris, that's an even trade. And Lindsay is definitely one more female slot to be grabbed, as well as Matt. And then apparently Kyle Yates may not be able to play all three. So that's going to factor into his premier drafting for sure. But he's still available. So that should be an interesting one to watch for, if you didn't already know. And we've talked a lot about draft strategy, but I'm really curious to see the continued evolution of the male-female thing and how much owners are really making the decisions versus that first-round pick and the old chemistry. But I think we've come to the conclusion that it's not a debate between chemistry and skill. It's a consideration of how collaborative a player is compared to the other equal skill options, because these rankings are not really cut and dried. There's some real buckets. You know, we've got like the top 3 girls, and then like the next 9 girls, and then like 20 girls.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. We talk all about, or we hear all the time talk of how important is chemistry on an MLP team. And how important is energy. I don't know if it's, like you just said, energy and chemistry are critical. It's collaboration. It's, do you have 4 collaborative people with the same goal who all understand their roles? Now, if you want to just say that's chemistry, fine. But that's what I'm defining as a winning formula. 4 people, super collaborative. Totally. Everyone knows their roles and they all have the same goal.
Yeah. And there are some teams where some players stay in that role as their role the whole time. Obviously, Ben Johns is the most obvious thing. He's going to be the team leader. He's going to play the left the whole time. He's going to be the number 1, mixed team. He's going to be the number 1 on the men's team. He's going to be the coach on the sidelines. He's that guy the whole time. But some players will go, okay, I'm on the other side when I'm playing with my male alpha, but then I go to the mixed court and I'm the alpha to my female. And there are going to be some role reversal there, and that's okay too. So in my quote unquote, don't draft 2 alpha males. Yeah. You can have 2 guys who can be alpha, but you have to have one who understands that when there are 2 men on the court, they are the beta.
So I've had 4 potential first round picks reach out to me about wanting to draft me. I've had owners reach out, obviously. And they're like, yeah, we definitely want you on our team, assuming the rest of the team, wants you too. You can be polarizing. You've got this like super high energy that, some people can describe as annoying. To which I responded like, oh, I totally respect that. I'm going to be whatever energy my team needs me to be. Like, remember we've talked about in previous podcasts, being part of like being a team captain or a team leader is like giving your team what they need. That's just how I've always operated on teams in the corporate world. So if I'm on a team where the energy needs to be, I don't know if lower is the right word, but yeah, not as like loud or as vocal or just different. Yeah, that's what it needs to be. But I don't want to end up, frankly, on a team where the energy is just like so low and it's like so quiet, or it's like so angry, and these people, like some of the players are kind of like insular. Like I need some emotion from my partner. I need some like laughter, energy, like eye contact.
Yeah. I have come to believe also that there are some players who play well when they're winning. Right. And do not play well when they're losing. And you absolutely are, of course, looking for that player who can bring it.
Create energy down.
When they're not having a good moment. That's what counts. It's easy to hit it down the middle, knock it on the green, and make a birdie putt. Yeah. But what happens when you hit it in the trees? What kind of player are you from the woods? And that's, I think, what people will eventually just, grow to understand about you. I don't knock anyone right now who might have their doubts, but they haven't really seen you. You haven't been available for 90% of the drafting. So
well, and I've been back 4 months, played 6 tournaments, and I also play the same opponents every single time.
That'll be the most fun part, just seeing different opponents. So if we didn't already explain, the draft happens July 12th at 9 a.m. Eastern. So set your clocks early because it's 6 a.m. Pacific. But they are actually, I believe, going to be airing the actual draft so you can follow in real time. It appears that the way you follow the draft is, like I said, for 2 hours, 9 to 11 Eastern, on the Dink pod. So here we are, promoting our rivals, Pickleball, which makes me wonder if Zane goes first round, is he going to be live updating on the pod with his discussions?
Well, I think it's clear that he's obviously influencing the draft if it's on his podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
The Zane draft. I like that. I'm not a fan of that. Go Zane, go. So I am excited for July 12th to come, and I'm excited for it to be over. Okay, so a couple days, we are hopping on the plane to altitude to Denver. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to and who you are playing with.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm playing with Pablo Tellez. I have, for the previous 4 tournaments, been like, hi, Pablo, want to play? He's like, no, can't. I'm like, hi, Pablo, want to play? No, I can't. Hi, Pablo, want to play? No, I can't. And then I saw, like, 4 days ago, a little text message from Pablo show up on my phone. And, my partner bailed last minute. His partner bailed last minute. So we are playing together, which is nice.
Bail.
Which is nice because I can continue my history of only playing with lefties.
Luckily, it makes no difference because the draft is 3 days prior. Otherwise, I'd be like, no, come on.
Look at me. I can play the right. I'm just playing with another lefty. And then playing with Tyra Black, actually, where I might play the right. Or we might just do straight up.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see her progress because the last time we played together in St. George a couple months ago, I thought she was really, really talented. Raw, super raw still. And since then, she's probably played 3-4 tournaments plus an MLP. So I'm like very curious to see our progress together as a team, just knowing she's probably literally like 30% better and I'm probably 20% better.
Totally. Well, and I think in the history of your play, you've played with lots of different partners, Lauren and Sarah and Leia over the years. Tyra's played with Leia and Georgia and some other people, and you always pick up different things from other players and kind of mosh pit the information and the gleanings.
Totally.
And she learns from you, and so I think it's all a part of what's great when you see a lot of different people partner up with a lot of different people instead of just same like some of them.
I was excited to return back to singles. I don't think that's gonna happen now that I'm playing both doubles. I just had a cortisone shot in my knee last week that I'm letting marinate, and I feel really good. I do feel healthy. I just don't want to push it. So I think there will be a time and a place for singles. I don't know if it's Denver, maybe one more tournament.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And obviously, after the MLP teams are set, that'll be interesting to see who might be prepping by playing with some of their teammates. But also, the event is the first one is in September. So there's a lot of time to kind of flex those different muscles, including singles, between then and now.
We've got, I'm doing a clinic in Boulder. We're getting there early so I can get used to the altitude. When I played in St. George, I really was kicking myself for not getting there a whole day earlier. I felt like I could not hit a dink in mixed on Friday because the altitude, I was hitting them so high. And then Saturday, I was totally fine. So I think just having a couple extra days is going to be nice. And then, of course, your family's going to come and watch.
Yes, my home state, Colorado.
And then we're going to go to Aspen after for a couple days with them. And that'll be really fun.
My hometown, Aspen. Well, it's interesting in altitude. Obviously, I grew up in it, so I am superior in every way. No, just kidding. In one major way, lungs. They say when you are born at altitude, you have superior oxygen production in your lungs because you had to work for it harder from the get-go. But
interesting.
I don't think I hear people talk about that fact in pickleball.
I thought your heart was bigger too.
All of it.
All the organs.
The capacity for love, all of it. But I guess, pickleball players are generally fit, but the fitter player running around the court, especially in singles, I'm sure, makes a big difference. When ballet companies would come through, if you had one of those seats that's near the front row, near the sides, you would see behind the stage a little bit that they're sucking down oxygen.
No way!
They do a pirouette, they run off stage, go back out there for some more.
Oh my gosh, how quickly could I procure an oxygen mask for PPA Denver?
Yeah, I think that's where IV drips for hangovers really came into vogue. Altitude sickness is a real thing, and they even sell little oxygen tanks at gas stations.
Really?
Or not at gas stations, at liquor stores. Because it's so commonly linked, you drink too much, you need oxygen, you're at high altitude. So
interesting.
Maybe we should grab some tanks for your extra hit.
Oh, that would
Rainstorm,
be so
oxygen,
funny.
Throw on the Proband, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, that is so funny.
Oh man. So I'm super excited for Denver, and I feel like we've won before we've even left.
I agree.
It's going to
be a really big week. So for our next pod right after Denver, we'll of course recap the PPA. We're going to recap the draft, give you all of our unfiltered thoughts on
probably the other league more than your own, because whichever team drafts Jill, is the best team.
Oh,
no doubt.
Thank you.
Best drafted. No, but we'll give you a little bit of our insight into the future.
Absolutely. We'll also be breaking down who we think does the very best of the best by each skill set. So which male and females are the best in every discipline of the game.
Who is the best dinker? Who is the best thinker? Who is the best lobber? And who is the best dropper? Who is the best rhymer on this podcast? I think you know the answer.
Toby.
Toby the Tabby.
But not only will we be going through that, we're going through it so you can learn too. And we're going to do really cool visuals that hopefully help your game at home. By the way, all day long, that's what I do. I watch video and try and borrow, beg, and steal tactics, shots from players I respect, who I think do the best shots in the sport.
Absolutely. So, really, really packed week. We thought, week off, what are we going to talk about on the pod? And I think we had more to talk about on this pod than any other pod. So thanks for staying with us. If you're still listening and you have not clicked subscribe, who are you? Come on, join the JILLYB movement. Join the JILLYB bandwagon. Be in the fan club. Get your JILLYB hats on pbgods.com. As a reminder, use code JILLYB or code PBLifers. And as a matter of fact, whenever you're shopping online for anything, pickleball related or otherwise, you might as well just throw in JILLYB as a code. You never know when it's going to work.
She has a point.
Everywhere.
She has a point. Okay, write us, comment. We want your thoughts, as always. You can email us at thispblife@gmail.com. You can comment in the YouTube comments.
Send us an owl, a pigeon.
They all work.
All forms of communication. DM either one of us on any of our major Instagrams. And, of course, continue to tune in to next week's episode. That was episode 15. Thanks for being with us.
We kept it clean?
We did. We kept it clean. We out.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.